So if you're going to ask me to continue watching the show with a single with an episode, then the episode that follows up the pilot, How to Rock a Messy Beth's definitely not the episode to do it with. And the reason for it is it falls into all the traps, all the things that just really, many parts of it are just so incredibly irritating and enjoyable. Well, here's the premise of the episode. The band room for Gravity 5, the Gravity 5 now, because of Casey joining in, is a mess. And none of them want to clean it. Because it's such a big mess and because they're potentially lethal animals that live inside that mess. So we have each of the members being distracted by these bad habits that they have. Casey excessively texts or messages others with her phone. Xander constantly is looking at himself in a mirror. And then Nelson and Kevin, they're constantly playing this video game called Furious Pigeons, which is an obvious spoof of Angry Birds. It's an obvious version of Angry Birds. So it seems like Stevie's the only one who doesn't have a bad habit. The bad habit they come up with for her is so stupid that she's constantly slamming people. And she does it to an excessive manner. That's called a character trait or personality. That's not a bad habit. Yes, it may slightly be done excessively, but it's not something that you'd consider an addiction, which is to some what a bad habit could be. So they bet each other that they can't go the longest without breaking their bad habit. And whoever wins the bet doesn't have to clean the room. And so this would be alright, I guess, if, for one simple thing, Casey is constantly trying to sabotage the others throughout the entire episode. And she's doing it in such a malicious, unkempt manner that it's so incredibly off-putting. When Stevie does it, she's doing it as a means of responding to how Casey does it. And you're not that poorly receptive toward it in that sense. And her joining forces with Molly and Grace King to try and bring Casey down, that was working. That was interesting. Up until the point where they have Molly and Grace are taunting Casey to an extreme that is very unpleasant. And I know it's supposed to be in Molly's character for that to go that way, but it just seemed so incredibly offensive and off-putting to me. I mean, that seemed a little much at that point. I mean, that's that Casey didn't deserve it, she did. So even more reason, she deserved it. And so to set it up as something bad, I thought was... I'll give you this, though. The one aspect of the episode that actually worked pretty well was... Well, two aspects of the episode that worked well. Aside from the fact that Stevie worked with Molly and Grace in order to try and bring Casey down. The part of the episode involving Stevie having to avoid breaking your habit, breaking your attempt to avoid her habit, because by Casey's means, those were kind of enjoyable. It's hard not to be interested in anything involving her character. Lulu Antarisa just does a fantastic job in the role. So then, the other aspect of the episode that works. The part where now throughout this series, I won't really give all that much praise to anything involving Nelson and Kevin. But the part in the episode where they're launching themselves in the giant slingshot so as to account for them not being able to play Furious Pigeons. It's done so elaborately and so over the top. I just couldn't help but think it was entertaining and amusing. I really couldn't. So with that, not to mention the fact that they have also one thing that definitely didn't work. Stevie breaks the bat in order to pulls out the bat in order to insult Molly for berating and hurting and trying to hurt Casey the way that she does. And so then Casey ends up winning. That I despised. And then, however, the part of like Casey willingly wanting to help them clean out the room afterwards and not just force them all to do it themselves, that kind of worked. That was a little better, but still, they had so much shit that just really didn't work that built up to it that this is not a pleasant or enjoyable episode to sit through. It just really isn't. Although, you never know. Next one could be better. It is, for the record, better. There are a lot of episodes that are better than this one. Per se, one, which may very well be worse. Alright, so, next episode's coming up in a bit. This was one you can skip, though. Next one's not. You already heard me say that. Catch you on the flip side.